this new episode of Lucky Last, and I'm very happy to share with you this new format as I decided to expand my interviews with men and women who had extraordinary journey. And extraordinary is the right word to describe Darren Lyons' story and life. Darren Lyons, if you don't know him yet, and I'm sure you heard the name before, ran one of the largest paparazzi agency in the world. He owned a nightclub. He even served as a mayor of Geelong. He has an incredible story. He was at the center of scandal. He was as well one of the biggest photographers in the world and captured fantastic shots that will define the pop culture and the history of the pop culture. So today, I would like to say thank you for coming, Darren. In Britney Spears' instance, do you think that when she was crying with her baby in this cafe, maybe some paparazzi should have the decency to say, okay, she's having a breakdown right now, we go.
Well, she invited the paparazzi to go in and live with her at that time, just remember that. There was a photographer living in her house.
Okay, no.
So she wanted it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's really difficult. It's hard to switch the tap on and then cooperate. Diana was a classic example. I switch the tap on when I want and switch it off when I don't want it. I find that very, very difficult to do. You want the publicity, but you don't want the downside, right?
Yes.
So there's an upside and a downside. Life's a roller coaster, whether we all like it or not. And, you know, you have to make a decision in your life what you're going to do, what is going to be beneficial. Quite often you think it's the right decision. In hindsight, it's a horrendous decision. I've seen that so many times. So Britney bought a lot of it on herself. But one thing I would say is it wasn't down to the paparazzi to look after Britney Spears. It was her parents, it was her management, and they were woeful, and they were a disgrace. Britney Spears needed help way before the paparazzi got involved, and she was ruthlessly taken advantage of as a child, for not her gain, other than her love being famous. Most people that are famous, if you really drill down, and I've had the sprinkling of 5 minutes of fame, but if you really drill down to a life of serious fame, it is not a good life. I'm telling you, I've seen these people break down. You know, when you're in the microscope, it is a pretty horrible life. You basically is not that much difference from being in a prison cell and coming out and getting photographed, right? And then getting put back in prison again, right? You might eat nice food and you might have your own chef and you might have your massage every day and all that kind, and be buying whatever you want, but you can't do what you and I do. I've been blessed through my TV show around the world at the time and having that Celebrity Big Brother around the world and the Shark Tank, or Dragon's Den, sorry, equivalent of that at the time. You have, and when I came out of the Big Brother house walking down Oxford Street, I mean, you know, I felt like a beetle. It was bizarre,
yes.
You know, when you get hundreds and hundreds of people, 18 million people watching you on TV every night. I mean, it's not a movie star status, but I was lucky. I had a dusting of it, which was nice. But I also understood the downside. After that show, I went in and became a recluse. And I live much more of a reclusive life these days, and even running around with pink hair still. You know, to drill deep into the psychosis of it, I really have seen, and I don't think many famous people are happy, other than people like Ricky Gervais, who doesn't give a shit.
I love him.
I love him to bits, and he
Yes,
loves the
so well.
paparazzi. He doesn't, you know, and I think if you don't give a shit, like I don't give a shit what someone's going to do or say about it. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. It's my life. I'll live it the way I want. And I'm a rebel. There's no question. A rebel without a cause, sometimes with a cause, as proven in my political career. And they had to get rid of me because I was the Trump before Trump in many ways. Not financially, but politically, the way the Labor Party wanted desperately to assassinate me. They went through everything they possibly could to destroy. They even had to sack their own people to destroy me. That's how ruthless the sickest industry on the planet is politics. And how Trump has dealt with, how he's dealt with, bloody hell. I mean, he's tough as old boots.
So let me just come back to what you were mentioning. You were saying that a lot of celebrities are playing with the media and the paparazzi.
Yeah.
They want the right profile taken, but they don't want the downside.
Well, it's hilarious. George Clooney's a great story. When he had his premiere and made all the comments about his expertise on what happened, blaming the paparazzi for Diana's crash, which the paparazzi had nothing to do with it. They were just doing their job and following. What I would say is this: when all the photographers on his red carpet again put their cameras down, that film was the biggest flop of all time. Not many producers are going to back you in Hollywood when no one pays at the box office for your movie. You're finished, right? So I think, I hate, you've seen it in the recent election, I hate celebrities getting involved with their opinions. I have my opinions and I give them out, but you've got to be prepared for the flack that's going to come back at you. And for Taylor Swift, I love the girl that's dumb as a fence post. You've got to cop the flack when 30 million people dump you off your Instagram account.
Yeah.
That's there's an upside and a downside.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm trying to get to the point of the hot and cold. Switch it on and switch it off. But it's your choice, and you will make mistakes, as I have and will continue to do through life. And they are human. They are not superhuman.
Yes,
In
agreed.
fact, many of them are fucking moronic, right? And they're not good people, you know. I'm not going to name who's good and who's bad.
But you have some stories in the book that are interesting,
Yeah,
Eddie Murphy and others. But I just come back to Lady Diana and a tragic death in Paris. So you were active and you were very close to it. You were actually the one who was the last photos of Lady Di.
I told the world.
Yes.
Actually, really, through the, tipping off the editors of the tabloids at the time.
And it was a very difficult time at that time for you, because not only you were close to her, but the whole world in the UK turned it to you, saying that you were trying to sell the photos.
Yeah.
And this escalated very quickly, and you got a lot of
Flack.
Yes, from that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, when you wrote the book,
I'm laughing now. I wasn't laughing then.
I
but
can
I'm
imagine.
sure
You said you didn't sleep for 5 days, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
And I do believe that you were sincerely affected by her death.
Very.
But people, as you said in the book, people needed someone to attack.
Of course.
And you were the perfect getaway with that. Did the book help you to clear your name?
I don't think my name needed clearing in the first place. The Princess of Wales used to use me as much as any celebrity in the world. And the Princess of Wales wanted the paparazzi around her that night, right? Most definitely. I don't think that there was a name to be cleared, but I also understand that the authorities needed a scapegoat. And we see it all the time. And the people, I think, slowly we're getting wiser to the conspiracy theories being true. And I'm not going to go into great detail. They can go out and get the book
absolutely.
online. But I, more than most people, I think, knowing her, what she did for the royal family, because she changed the royal family for the better in so many incredible ways. And she brought it out of a time that they were still living only not that long ago, 200 years earlier. They had a mindset of the royal family 200 years ago. And many of them still do, you know. Certainly the passing of the Duke, I mean, the Duke definitely was the real living 200 years ago, but he was also the keeper of the faith. He was the keeper of the Queen. He was the keeper of the royal seal. I mean, his job was to protect the monarchy. That was his role. And he was bloody good at it. And he had no fear, I can assure you, in dealing with anyone that got in the way. I'll leave that as an open question. And he didn't see eye to eye with Diana because, you know, Diana did threaten the royal family and to move to America and set up her own royal family there. Exactly what Meghan and Harry done. They've just copied her blueprint of her business model that was exactly, I'm telling you now, it was exactly the same. And Meghan probably heard this story from Harry and, I think, that's a good idea, being Meghan as Meghan is. But she threatened them and took it onto them. And let's face it, they're the Matrix. They're very, very incredibly powerful, but powerful beyond all belief that people would know. I know they do a lot of good, but at the end of the day, they fight in a war of survival and they will always win.
Yes, there is
Bit
interesting...
like a lawyer.
Yes, there is interesting statement said in the book about it, and actually I learned some facts that I didn't know about that I think was fascinating. My mom, as many probably women of her age, was very impacted when Princess Diana died, and
Well, the world was.
Yes, and I always grew up with this like fantastic image of
Yeah,
Lady Diana. And we as well believe that the paparazzi killed her. So there is an interesting story behind all that I recommend you to read the book.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating. And I lived in Paris, and my dad drove Le Pont de l'Alma many times, and it was never the same after the accident, that's for sure.
No. I think there's a lot more to that story than still meets the eye. But yeah,
yes.
Let's move on.
Let's move on, absolutely. So is there one photo that you sold that you regret selling?
Good question. That's a cracking question. Got to remember, in those days, I had a much younger brain in terms of it was making money at all costs. I'm a very different human to what that human was then. As we all get older, we get wiser. I'm not saying I did anything unwise. In fact, I think, considering some of the hand grenades I had to hold in terms of celebrity, I think I've thought about this a lot and looked back at time, and I reckon I got it pretty right. And Diana is a classic example that I've kept my word all along about the pictures of the Princess of Wales through huge threats on myself and my family's life at the time. But I did the right thing very much. You know what? It's really difficult. Can you throw one at me? I mean, it's been that long ago since I was Mr. Paparazzi, the biggest in the world, and there's some of the exclusives. I don't think, you know what? I don't think there is, and I'll tell you for the very reason, is because the one thing that I'm sure any half-brained person out there will understand, if you put yourself in a position, the one thing the paparazzi always will do in life is photograph the authentic. That is changing with modern technology like AI. I can't wait to see the paparazzi pictures that don't even exist come out over the next few years with artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So, because it's all a lie now. It was never a lie then, because the picture was there, you snapped it. Of course there would, and the amount of phone calls I got from distressed celebrities saying, help me out. And I helped a lot out. There's still pictures that I have that I wouldn't release because I respected these people and they made a mistake. So I did the right thing by many people. A lot of people came to me with huge amounts of money and said, hide it. I did. Some were for the money. I'll be honest. Some were for the obscene amounts of money. So, that happened. But I am a great true believer, and I've been caught out myself looking fat on the back of a boat, jumping into water, looking horrendous. But, like James Packer or whatever the case may be, he got very shitty about these set of pictures we have. I'm sorry, but you're fat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like me. I need to lose 10 kilos, whatever the case may be. It is authentic. It is there. It's not changed unless it's a photo manipulated. And in our day, you couldn't do it. You had Photoshop to make it brighter or darker or get a better skin tone, but you couldn't make people more beautiful. They were still fucking ugly.
So you said it. You said, your studio photo were photoshopped, but your pap photos never been photoshopped, which is great. And you mentioned as well just now that with artificial intelligence, things are changing. Do you think the paparazzi will still exist? This industry will still exist?
Well, I don't think it's existed for a long time. I think it is still there, yes. Look, the establishment, the politicians hate them. The famous people have killed the paparazzi. It's like video killed the radio star. AI killed the photographer. So, because they were being lambasted for doing promiscuous and sometimes horrible, ludicrous things that they were against the law, that you and I would get charged with, but they were celebrities and didn't. We see it all the time with people of fame get away with it over a long period of time. I think that's being broken down now, but I think that the authenticity of taking a paparazzi picture, the sad thing is the death of the paparazzi, because that's what the people has to understand. That was the most honest media you ever got. It's not like someone saying that, Donald Trump has 3 heads. That's a lie, right? I've only photographed him with one. So at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? But CNN or NBC or whatever the case may be, the lies through and look, we've just had a bloody Prime Minister in this country try and bring out a law that says you can't say anything bad about me. I mean, it's utter disgrace for what's going on in the world today.
It is.
In terms of, this privacy issue. Really? I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're doing the wrong thing and you get photographed doing it, deal with it. I've had to face up to many issues in my life that I have done the wrong thing. The worst thing, the best thing is you hold yourself accountable. Why did I do that? Might have been drunk, might have been on drugs, might have done this, might have been that, whatever the case may be. But you did it.
Yes.
Just cough it up. I'm sorry, but don't fuck with the truth. That's the thing that gets me. And when politicians try and don't even get me on it because I'll go nuts. But privacy laws, I think they are ridiculously tight in so many ways. I understand someone shooting into someone's home in the shower is out of bounds. An Englishman's home is the phrase, and his castle. That should be protected. Did we cross the line with that in the day? Yes. There was a salacious appetite financially and for the world, but it was down to ultimately we supplied it. It's the publishers had the responsibility to buy it and distribute it. We weren't the distributor. This is no social media then, right? So at the end of the day, they were prepared. And there's many that I put in front of serious editors, even with our king today, right now, that were rejected by the biggest owner of media in the world, right? But they still exist.
Yes.
So, there's been many a situation where even, too spicy.
Yes.
Oh, the stories I've got. The stories.
Yeah.
I'm the best dinner party guest in the world, believe me.
I know.
People just hang on it because, really? Oh, yeah, do you want to see it? I'll get it. Yeah.
But it's funny because in your book you talk a lot about celebrities, music, artists, models, footballer. We have a funny story with David Beckham and his mistress and all this thing.
You know the bizarre thing?
No.
You just said that? Guess who messaged me last night?
Her.
Rebecca Lewis. I saw a podcast in the UK on her. It was a terrific podcast.
Really?
And she came up on my Instagram and she goes, Darren, where are you? How are you? Because we had an affair after that. Not an affair because neither of us were married, but we had we kind of dated there for a very little while. I couldn't believe how amazing she looks today. And she just did this incredible open and honest podcast on Beckham, and I've known this happened because obviously I was intimate with her, but it's the first time I've ever heard her talk about it. And I tell you what, it's well worth a look.
I will listen to it.
Cracking.
I think she did a special interview with you.
Yes, she did.
Okay, but she talked about it, right?
She did. There was a few things in this one though. Maybe it refreshed my memory about how David Beckham was as a person. Okay. But I remember Victoria coming up to me at Claridge's in the bar. I was with Brian Morrison, the creator of Wham, great mate of mine. We played polo together at his polo club. He was a mentor, a business mentor, and personal friend for much of my life in London. And there's not a band in those days that he didn't kind of create or produce. And Victoria came up to us in the bar at Claridge's. We're having our usual Friday night drinks. And she goes, oh, David and I were just watching you on TV in the shower this morning. I said, what in the shower? How'd you watch TV? Oh, we've got the new Tile TV. Guess what? The next day I went out and bought one. So it was the first time people had TV in the shower. I couldn't think of anything worse this day and age, but, you know,
Yes.
I was obsessive about having the next greatest and best, and I could afford it, so I just did it. But it was really, really cute. And she actually, they used to love me reviewing the papers on Sky News in the morning, and they used to have a laugh. I've actually got a huge amount of respect for that couple, with Posh with very little talent. I mean, I think she's a very talented designer, but she's a master. There's another one that is a master of communication and connection, even with that pout. And she was treated, over her early marriage and her relationship, particularly when they were in Spain, she was treated very poorly as a wife. She was treated appallingly. And I know. And I think the way she got through, most women would have just walked away from that situation. Now they look like
David, huh? She wanted him.
well,
for so
they
long.
now look like the greatest couple in the world, and it's incredible. The David Beckham of today and the David Beckham I knew at the time is a very different man. So he's managed to really. He's been through a lot of shit that he has actually got back. You know, he's almost like a royal. You know,
Totally.
he goes out of favour and then comes back into favour. Some of the stuff he was doing behind the scenes for that side of the royal family, then, you know, blacklisted by that side of the royal family. It's hilarious because all he wants is a knighthood, you know, of course, which you will eventually get, probably when William becomes king. Or actually, I think Charles may do it beforehand. But that's what they want. This is how it works. It is a pillar system. It's like after money, and you're seeing it all over the United States now, money becomes boring because you've got so much. The next thing is, how can I control people? How do I get power? Power, 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 power. And in their mind, no tree. It's only a bloody piece of metal that goes onto you, and people run around, la-di-da, I'm Sir,
Sir,
you know.
call me Sir. Yes.
It's bullshit. But the British, you know, I love history and I love all the song and dance about the British royal family. People have a very different opinion than me. Is there a better system? Well, there's not. I'll tell you right now, for Australia, there's not a better system to have another, which we almost got with The Voice, another series of government stops. You know, we've got so over-governed in this country by so many different people. It's just a joke. If we were to get a president of Australia, it'd cost billions of dollars to put into place, and then another layer of idiots trying to run the idiots that can't run anything, which are the politicians. So, you know, I mean, as Trump has promised to do in the United States with his mate Elon Musk, who's an absolute incredible genius, you know, to completely drain the swamp. Well, this whole country in Australia, bureaucratically, is, I would say, the second biggest swamp in the world than to America. We may even be bigger in terms of government, but we're not talking about politics, we're talking about sex, drugs and rock and roll.
Yes, we are, but it's such a restricted country, I find.
Oh,
my goodness
it's bullshit.
me. Like, you can't do anything.
That's why I just got back from, you know, obviously travelling for the last year and being in Asia. You can do anything you like anywhere at any time.
I don't know any other country in the world that has demerit pont.
No, but if you're in France, that's it, they'd rebel.
But there won't be a protest every day.
Yeah, of course.
For sure.
No.
There is no way we'll happen.
We are weak pricks here. It's pathetic. I mean, the way Andrews in Victoria, that scum of the earth, locked up the whole of Victoria. You know, what he did mentally, and now he sits on a mental health board for kids. How the fuck does that work?
Yes,
I mean, come on.
Yes.
We are shocking sheep in this country. We are shocking sheep. And at one stage we had the world's biggest population of sheep. I can assure you, Australia still has. And they're called fucking people. And they just follow dickheads like Andrews and many other.
Okay, let's try to go back about sex.
Sex. Love talking about sex.
Sex and rock and roll. We didn't mention it, but while you were one of the biggest paparazzi in the world and running the biggest paparazzi agency, you as well decided to have a few ventures. And you had a different try here and there. You had a fashion label, you work in music, and you created a band literally here in Australia.
We actually topped the charts above Madonna. That's how bloody good they were.
Exactly.
Yeah. What were their names again? Because I came up with a whole heap of different names for
Yes,
them.
I can't
Twisted
remember.
Sister was one, and I got sued by the original Twisted Sister. I think I called them Twisted Sisters. That was the one I really wanted. Then I ended up with one of the girls' mum's names, the family name, which is Tanya Robertson, who's now a massive star in her own right, married a footballer, as you do in England if you're good looking, and called them Mrs. Robinson. But yeah, we had some of the coolest producers of the time in the world, and we topped Madonna on the dance charts. It was the dance charts. It wasn't pop.
So my question is, sky is the limit. Did you want it to see if you could success somewhere else, or you were just a bit greedy?
I think I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I just wanted to be the best in the world at everything, which was my downfall in many ways because I just did too much. I was doing a TV production company. I then had the nightclubs, going on, which were incredibly successful in Australia, and that was for Geelong. That was for my home. I wanted to have the world's best nightclub. I can assure you at the time, 25 years ago, I built the best nightclub in the world, and it was in this little fishing village called Geelong, south of Melbourne, which actually is Victoria's second biggest city, and which I was the mayor of. But it was, at the time, it was a phenomenon for Geelong. And sadly, strangely enough, we're having this. Literally, we closed it down, we ended it, sold it 2 weeks ago. So Home House is finished after 25 years. And it was an extraordinary journey, extraordinary business that saved many of my other businesses because it was a dinosaur. It was the best club in Australia for many years in a place called Geelong. You would think Melbourne, Sydney.
Yes.
And how many nightclubs have ever in the world, other than Studio 54, have survived 25 years? I mean, nightclubs last 2, 3, 4, 5. It was reinvented, and I'm a mad interior designer, as you know, and I love designing and getting into properties and my apartments and my homes and etc. I love doing that, whether it be in France, whether it be in Sydney, whether it be in Port Douglas, or whether it be in Thailand, whatever the case may be. I just love doing it. So I think the creative drive, business-wise, I just wanted to. I always overdid it. That's me. That's Dazza. As my nearest and dearest know me as. And I just always went for it. And also, I'm not a gambler necessarily in casino, but I'm always going to take a risk because I don't care. I'm not worried whether I'm the richest bloke in the world or the poorest bloke in the world. One great friend of mine who's an incredible entrepreneur who owns a company in the UK, one of the biggest soap companies in the world, called Bayliss and Harding. Her name is Tanya Slater. I'll never forget these words. She said to me when I was going through a really, really horrendous patch, and she said, I said, I think I'm going to lose everything, Tan. She goes, Darren, what's the worst case scenario? You're Australian. You have the most beautiful beaches in the world. Go to Bunnings, buy a tent, and you live the dream. And I thought, fuck.
That's a good way
That's
of
the worst
putting
case
that.
scenario.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And
yes,
then
it
get
is.
given as much money by the Labor government to live.
Thank you, Labour government.
No, it's not thank you in my eyes because I wouldn't accept it. But I know many people do with open arms and more. And the amount of raunts going on, don't even get me on. But anyway, that really puts I love these plain and simple. And she's incredibly successful, and we've shared incredible times together. Her and my best mate since the age of 12, who's managed my businesses all over the world, Mario in Geelong. We sat next to loyalty. Tanya and him, Tanya in the UK, Mario in Geelong, are my two besties in the world. And I reckon if you go through life and you can count on 5, I reckon 5 is a big number now.
Agree.
Because people betray you, people let you down, people rip you off, people lie to you, people steal from you all the time, people that you think are your family or your friends. We're living in a very strange world today. My mother said before she passed away, it's not a world I want to be a part of. I totally got it. I totally got the way she was thinking over going through the Industrial Revolution, World War and technological revolution. I kind of get it. The way the world, and I think a lot of us look at the world now as there's bigger sickness than COVID.
How would you resume your life and your story? And what is the biggest learning that you got out of it?
Well, I think I've said a couple of really good things during this interview, but I mean, I am writing another book at the moment. It's almost finished, which I don't think it'll be as good as the first one. I think the first one's a cracking...
Don't say that. Why would you say that?
No, because that life was extraordinary. I mean, you know, I'm not going to be able to repeat that because I'm older, right? I've had a very successful art business, which sadly... I won't even go into details, but economic climate turned that around. I love up my art. I've been a big collector. I just sold a couple of Warhols in London, which was an extraordinary part of my life. I'm doing this fashion brand with my archive and some artists around the world that I love called Paparazzi, Paparazzi, that we just launched that out of the United States this week with some amazing, very powerful hip-hop collaborators. We've got some amazing artists on board with big social media followings and influencers, but we're hitting the world really. It's really surprised me. That's been 12 months in the making for me, but that's my creatively. And to be honest with you, you know, I'm really in a very semi-retired environment. I'm going for the first time in my life. I've traveled the world intensely in work. And it's funny, I'm going back to those places, particularly in the last year, I've been back to those places where I thought, I didn't know that was there. Because I was a lunatic, right? I was a lunatic businessman that always wanted the deal. I was 150 billion miles an hour, which is a pretty stupid thing to say, but I was just go. I didn't sleep, I just worked. I built. Many things had to, you know, went by the wayside because of that. Now is my time. But I always like a deal. If someone walks in, I'm like the Dragon's Den. I'm like the Shark Tank. What do you think? You know, my business manager and best mate since the age of 12, Mars, says, Daz, enough. But
this is who you are.
But one thing is important. You asked me the question. Do what you love what you do, but most of all, learn how to say no. Because one thing I've learned is I never said no. And that brings a lot of arseholes around your life, which isn't good. And trust your gut. Gut. Don't listen to anyone else necessarily. Take it in, but trust your gut. And look, at the end of the day, go for it. Because it's simple. It all goes back to that tent on the beach story. You know, people in the media will laugh. They'll always want to bring you down. You're either going to be Elon Musk or you're going to be poor like Darren Lyons. You know, Elon Musk has no fear. Have no fear. Have no fear. Go for it. Just don't do anything illegally and take drugs like I did. You know, I wrote it in the book. It was funny politically when I was running. That was their big thing. Darren Lyons has done cocaine. Yeah, just read my fucking book, will you? Get on with it. It was funny, it became a non-story so quickly. And the amount of people in the media doing Charlie and the amount of politicians doing Charlie up the road, my godfather, if we only knew that we're only told a certain amount. And I know a lot of it, believe me. So I'd hate to see you think when I take it to my grave, what people won't know, but my friends will know. So I think they're the most important takeouts is that go with your gut, do what you love, and just get on and live life. Always have a positive mental. And I'll tell you, if you have a negative thought in your head, because that little man in there always tells, think of 3 positive thoughts and deliberately do it. You have to train your brain. Not many people can do that. They can't train their brain, but it actually is easy. You've got to force. It's like putting your runners on in the morning to go to the gym. You have to think, treble it. If something, that little mind is in your head, negative, not positive, be positive. Be positive and own the fucking room. Walk in to a room and when everyone walks out, everyone says, who the fuck was that? It was Darren fucking Lyons. You know what he used to do? He was Mr. Paparazzi. Giddy up.
We will end on that. Thank you so much, Darren. It was a fantastic interview. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.